Yes, this broadcast has to do with the travails of EKWEREMADU in the UK. Ninas has observed very closely all of what has been going on from the point of arrest to all the, arraignments, himself, the wife, and later the daughter. In the midst of all that, we also saw Abuja listing 40 properties belonging to him that will now have to be forfeited and all of that. Let me enter a caveat on behalf of Ninas before we go to the meat of the matter. That caveat is that nobody is in support of corruption, because corruption is a destroyer of society. But in this instance, where is the corruption of Nigeria coming from, other than the Constitution of Nigeria that creates corruption and comprehensively protects the beneficiaries of grand corruption in black and white? We've talked about it so many times, and if I have to run very quickly through those provisions, I will be citing Section 6, Subsection 6C, that absolves government of responsibility towards citizens. I'll be citing Sections 81 and 82 that regarding appropriation, that hand over the keys to the treasury to the president and the governors, the spare keys to the treasury, more or less, so that they can take all the contents of the treasury for themselves. I'll be citing Section 121, 122 for the governors, as 81, 82 for the president. I will then be citing Section 308 of the Constitution that grants absolute immunity to these heads of the executive branch at the center and in the states. Between these provisions, corruption, avenues for humongous corruption is, are created, and comprehensive protection extended to those who will be the beneficiaries of that corruption. Because Nigeria, the criminal enterprise, as defined by the 1999 Constitution, has only one main objective: to steal and take away the proceeds in peace. That's the grand object. That's like you have a company, you say, what's the main objective? That's the main objective of the Nigerian enterprise. So let nobody come talking about who was caught with 40 houses or 50 houses. The accountant general of your country is accused of, is caught red-handed, pilfering 109 billion from the treasury, and is not sitting in prison. Maina, the one of pension funds, again, is not sitting in prison. Whatever be the shenanigans around there, whether he's tried or not arrested, all those things are just window dressing. None of the grand beneficiaries of corruption is under any form of harassment, how much more imprisonment. So let's put the question of the corruption of 40 houses that now have to be forfeited. The one will be asking, those who are trying to forfeit those houses, show us one person who had to swear to defend and uphold that constitution that is not in equal stealing. You may not have the properties may not have been identified, or even if identified, may not have been made public the way. So let us leave. Nobody is in support of any corruption, but our suspicion is the reason for this broadcast. Why is EKWEREMADU in this travail? There's a reason we had to make this address, because the same monster that is responsible for many things that we are talking about is at work again. It is our suspicion that it is the government of Nigeria sitting in Abuja and the government of the United Kingdom sitting in London that have now devised a mechanism to get back at somebody who challenged them in something they were going to do in their joint venture. Our suspicion is that EKWEREMADU is being targeted, is being punished so severely because of the role he played in bringing the PDP lawmakers to side up with the minority elements in the APC in the period after the 2015 election to form the leadership of the National Assembly in the Senate that produced the Saraki and the House of Representatives that produced the Dogara. And so all of what the Buhari government, especially the things that, you know, the Fulani agenda that will have required all manners of legislation. We saw the Ruga, we saw the Waterway Bill, we saw the Grazing Reserve, all kinds of nasty laws that will appropriate the lands and sovereignties of people into the hands of the Fulani that are coming in. They could have done all those things in the first tenure if they were in control of the National Assembly. And so EKWEREMADU, who was Deputy Senate President before that dispensation, and who then more or less had to rally his colleagues into what they managed to do that produced a leadership in the Senate and the House of Representatives that was not under the control of the party of the Buhari and his co-travelers. That is our suspicion. And we have very solid ground for, you know, reaching those. There were, as we went out planning the constitutional force majeure, of course, we had consultations with people in and out of government. We had consultations with international stakeholders in our, you know, polity. And so we have our facts in the background. And if anybody says it is not so, we'll be more than happy to engage in the debate that will follow. Our specific charge is that EKWEREMADU is being severely punished for being instrumental to blocking what Buhari and his kinsmen will have done in the first 4 years with the National Assembly, which they are now struggling to do unsuccessfully, because it was in that period they would have succeeded if they were in control of that arm of government. In those 4 years, by 2019, we had you know, gone to be with the stakeholders in the international arena, the US and the UN, all of those who will be looking for solutions if Nigeria were to go up in smoke. Throughout 2019, we were talking with them, and it was in our success between Washington and New York that more things happened here. And we saw what the US did only in the last week of October, when they raised the terror alert without talking to Abuja, and they took other steps, meaning that they now know the source of some of the things that they've been scratching their heads about, that it is Abuja that is responsible for the terror that was growing in the sub-region. And so back to EKWEREMADU, I had cause to tell those who should know that the first offense of EKWEREMADU is that he led that PDP charge to seize control of the National Assembly. Second, Saraki is a medical doctor. EKWEREMADU, the lawyer, was the one, and law teacher, was the one that guided all of how they managed to keep their hold those 4 years in the two houses. Finally, EKWEREMADU is Igbo. In fact, that is in the Catholic nomenclature, that's the one that is the punishment that goes with death penalty. EKWEREMADU is Igbo, leading a charge in what blocked the Fulani from doing what they wanted to do with power, in which Buhari had contested the election 4 years, 4 times before you know, winning on the last occasion. And so between those 3 sins, the sin of PDP, the sin of being the lawyer, and the sin of being Igbo, the owners of the Nigeria of master and servant, the joint venture between the British Crown and the Sokoto Caliphate, are the ones who have now zeroed in on the EKWEREMADU to punish him as severely as they can. And Again, we say, look at this map. Ninas owes it a duty, owes it an obligation to speak up concerning this matter, because it is that caliphate at work again. And if anybody thought it was a remote conspiracy theory, I have another example. I was in South Africa to speak to the court in the capacity of independent witness in the trial of Henry Oka. And at the end of the day, the judge was ready to release Henry Oka, seeing that it was all cooked up, and what was brought were just fabrications that couldn't sustain any kind of meaningful trial, how much less conviction. But between Abuja and Pretoria, things began to turn upside down. And when Henry Oka took up the outcome to appeal, going all the way to the Supreme Court in South Africa, and they denied him that relief of discharging the matter for going by the pronouncement of the trial judge concerning what happened, what might have happened. Buhari and his handlers sent congratulatory message to South Africa Supreme Court for denying their citizen freedom. I'll be surprised if Abuja does not send congratulations to UK for putting EKWEREMADU to the worst kind of outcome through this trial we see. And so let us go back to the union dispute. I am certain that if it was a senator from this other part, if it was a senator from this upper part of this map you see that got into the kind of problem EKWEREMADU got into, it wouldn't even have made it to the media, because government to government, they will find a way to say, okay, you go sort it out in Nigeria. But it comes from the wrong place, and there is an axe to grind. That is our charge. If anybody says it's not so, the Abike Dabiri that goes about preaching on behalf of diaspora, it's a pity. And they think everybody else is a fool. Nobody is fooled. EKWEREMADU may have stolen. He's just anybody who swears to defend and uphold the 1999 Constitution is equal criminal in our own estimation. Whether he's president or governor or senator or House of Assembly member or House of Representative member or minister, anybody who swears to defend and uphold this Constitution is a participant in the crime called Nigeria. So it's now a matter of degree, whether they stole in billions of dollars or billions of pounds or billions of naira or even millions of naira. They are equal members of the criminal gang. And so let nobody come to tell us that, oh, we have caught up. If you're talking of 42 houses, what of the ones that are in hundreds? What has happened to, what's his name that was in EFCC the other time? The policeman. Yes, I was thinking about Mago, the EFCC chair. All of what he took from people, the monies he recovered, EFCC recovered, what happened to those monies? How much of it have been, was he holding on to? What are the people in NNPC who didn't transmit money to Treasury, running into billions of dollars? What has happened to them? What has happened to all the other people that the humongous corruption cases that are all of, even the current, you saw how somebody and the director of whatever in Air Force retired, that went, they seized his Jeep and all of that. If he didn't go to court, probably that Jeep that Jeep will have ended up as a birthday gift or some Christmas gift to some girlfriend. That's what the FCC have been doing. What has happened with all of that? So this EFCC that becomes so very efficient when persons from one part of the country are concerned, but so very inefficient when it's the other people, nobody is deceived. It's just a matter of self-deception. And so don't tell us about corruption. No, anybody who says he's fighting corruption under the 1999 Constitution is a criminal. Let us accept that that Constitution creates the corruption we're talking about. And why will it be at a time your citizen is in distress in a foreign land that you will choose to now go after his own portion of the humongous corruption we're talking about? Can't somebody realize that it's not monkeys and baboons that are the spectators in this matter? Back to where we were headed, it is our suspicion, it is our charge that what is going on with EKWEREMADU in the UK courts begins and ends with the government of Nigeria and the government of the United Kingdom in terms of conspiracy to punish him for leading the charge in the period 2015 to 2019 in the National Assembly. Let us leave it there for now. Let us hope that sanity will prevail. They may carry on with whatever they choose to do, but those who are able to read what is going on are also going to have to take their own decisions down the road. It is your Nigeria that you are destroying. It is the little opportunities left to still resolve anything about Nigeria peacefully that is being destroyed by this very shallow shenanigans. I think we leave it there.